Perfect. Okay, so what we're doing today. Oh, I left my camera on. That's why I wasn't recording. What we're looking at today is the water cycle. And just let me share that up. Okie dokie. And I'm going to go through the language that we use, what it means, some of the words we've used before that you will have forgotten. I'm not saying, oh my God, you've forgotten because you're year 8. I'm saying that because we don't use certain words in normal spiel. All right? It'd be nice if we did, but we don't. And we all forget things that we don't do all the time. So, what we're going to look at today is how water moves around the earth. Hi, George. How water moves around the earth. And it moves. And that's the interesting thing. Water moves. What do you mean water moves around the earth? And I said, do you know, like, rivers? Like, oh, obviously. You think, yeah, it does move around the earth. We're going to have a look at what powers it. We're going to have a look at the different parts of it. And this whole topic is called the water cycle because it's non-stop. It goes around. Okie dokie. So, where does all the energy come from to move the water around? I'm going to show you an image actually. This is it, and I'm going to go through each little bit. All right. Now, this is what happens. Water evaporates, turns into clouds, and it rains. And we'll go into it in a bit more detail. All the power for it comes from the sun. All the energy for it comes from the sun. So let's look at how. Now, the sun warms up the water in oceans, lakes, and rivers. This liquid water turns into gaseous water, water vapor. It's an invisible gas. You can't see it. Right? So the water that's heated up by the sun turns into water vapor, and we call this process evaporation. That water vapor enters the atmosphere, and that's one way. The second way that it happens is from plants. Plants take up water from the soil through their roots, and they release it through their leaves. The process is called transpiration. So the water leaves the roots by transpiration. Okay, leaves the leaves. Let's not even call it roots. It leaves the leaves by transpiration. Okay. As this water vapor rises and goes higher, it cools down. As that water vapor cools down, it forms tiny droplets, tiny liquid droplets, and we call that clouds. How the clouds form, that process is called condensation. Now, as these tiny, tiny little drops join together, they become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and they turn into rain. Not just rain. Rain is very common, especially if you're from the wet northern parts of England, as I am. It can turn into snow, sleet, or hail. There is a general word for rain, snow, sleet, or hail, and that's called precipitation. A word that will come up in chemistry as well. When it rains, the water flows, and it tends to rain in mountains more than anything else because mountains are colder. So water flows over the lands into rivers, lakes, and eventually oceans. Now, there's a definite term for this. It's called surface runoff. That's the water when it lands as rain, it runs off into rivers, lakes, and oceans and streams. That's called surface runoff. Okay. Now, some water soaks deep into the soils and rocks underground, and that's called groundwater. It's underground. Everywhere it ends up, everywhere it is, it will eventually end up in oceans and lakes. When it ends up in oceans and lakes, the sun heats it up, it evaporates, it turns into water vapor, then turns into little clouds, then it rains over and over again. For eternity, forever, or even longer. Now, well, as long as the Earth is in the right Goldilocks zone. You've got 10 questions. Oh, actually, no, let's go back to here. Now, this is the ocean evaporating, forming water vapor. You've got transpiration, forming water vapor. That's condensing into clouds. Cooling even further and raining on the mountains. This is surface runoff. Some of it percolates like a cup of tea into the ground. I like that word, percolates. You don't need to know it, but I'm going to say it because I like it. and that turns into groundwater, and it all eventually ends up either in a lake or in an ocean. Right, sweethearts, the first 10 questions are based on everything I told you over here. One of the toughest things to develop is the ability to actively read, not to read. Everyone can read, but only certain people develop that skill of active reading. Right? Everything else is a bit trickier, but that's what you're doing, darlings.